Welcome, NC teachers, to week 4 of peer mentoring in alternative licensure. This week you will be constructing your common formative assessments and working with each other a great deal on coming up with the questions for those. Now, common formative assessments, I guess in the old days we called them quizzes, so they should be short and manageable. I would recommend no more than, let's say, 10 questions, and the data that you're collecting from them, it helps if you make it in an objective format, such as multiple choice questions. Now, if you're going to do short answer questions, what you'll want to think about is how to ask the question so that students will respond with key phrases and answers that you can look for when compiling your data later on. So to get you started, we're going to look at some recommended readings on common formative assessments, and this was posted last week, so some of you may have already read them, may have read them before, but here is a good resource for coming up with those and making them successful assessments. So take a look at those, read those first before you start your discussions, so that you're all on the same page. You're going to do a lot of forum work this week with the whole group, the whole class, as well as with your PLC. And the discussion in the forums, there are 3 forums on 3 videos. They're all short videos, but they're all very important videos as it relates to student learning. The first one is on working memory, and this is Peter Doolittle, and watch it and answer these questions about how we can enhance the working memories of students in our classrooms and how that helps our students. So watch this first video by Peter Doolittle. Just click on the link there and you will get to it. The second one is on sparking learning. Watch this video and then answer the questions. What are 3 rules for sparking learning, and how do you get your students to become more curious? How do you motivate them to become more curious? Good discussion there. Again, post your answers as well as reply to 2 of your classmates. And then the third one, my personal favorite, is Angela Duckworth's video on grit. You're going to define grit and then talk about how you can help students believe in grit and see the power of grit and realize that failure is not a condition. Okay, and this is one of my favorite videos. So I show it not only to students like you, college students, to teachers, but I also show it to my students at the beginning of the year. In fact, I'm getting ready to show it to a new semester of English 4 seniors that have been struggling, to show them that they can make it. They can make it to the end of the semester and to graduation. I think you'll feel inspired by Angela Duckworth. I'm looking forward to your responses. Okay, back to the weekly syllabus here. So once you do that, or while you're doing that, you're going to be conducting discussions in your PLCs on common formative assessments, and I'll just open the one for English here. The questions are all the same to go over this. And let's see if I think I can make this bigger. Excuse me just a minute. No. Okay, so think about questions. Each group member, I know there's one small group. If that's okay, you don't have to have 10 questions, but do have a conversation so that you can conduct a forum and come up with no more than 10 questions to administer on your CFA, or as we called it in the old days, your quiz. Maybe each member could post 2 or 3 questions, to have a conversation about these, decide which questions you want on the official common formative assessments. Remember, we're trying for a minimum of 2 classes. I do understand that not all of you have classrooms and have students, but the more data that you get from administering this, the easier it is to study it, or the more enhanced your study of the data will be. So aim for a minimum of 2 classes. I've already talked to at least one group about this, and they've come up with some solutions. So do the best you can, and if you can't get 2 classes, just adjust it accordingly, but remember you need some data to discuss. Okay, the important thing this week is to come up with those 10 or fewer questions to put on your CFA. And so use the forum to discuss your questions. And then let's go back here and I'll show you where you're going to post the final version. So each PLC has a forum, and one member will post it as an assignment, and you can put all your group members' names on the assessment. And that's due by next Sunday. I know some of you are working on it already, so whenever it's ready you can post it. And this won't be a forum, this will be for my eyes only. Post it right here. Okay, so lots of discussion going on. Here are the whole group discussions, the whole class discussions on the video and ways to improve student learning, and then your own discussion on the items you're going to add to your CFA. That's due by the end of the week, and that will come in right here. Because I like to begin with the end in mind, I've posted the rubric. You don't need to think about this assessment yet because it is not due until February 26th, but if you want to begin with the end in mind and know where it's going, this is where it's going. Eventually you will post your final assessment on Moodle for everyone to see, and then you'll be discussing the results, especially as they relate to specific skills. So remember, it's very important, as you know, to tie all of your questions to objectives. So what are you trying to assess? What is each question trying to assess in the students? So you may want to keep those, post those objectives along with your questions in your PLC discussions on Moodle. And then via Moodle, you will be presenting the results to class. We'll teach you how to use Screencast, and you can use PowerPoint or Google Slides, and you will be answering all of these questions. You know, how many students were in the assessment? How did it connect to learning objectives? And this would be an item by item connection. And what have you found out that the students know? What have you found out that the students don't know? And if your assessment shows that there are some objectives that haven't been met, how will the students learn it? And that would be reteaching suggestions. So remember that your assessment, as far as the assessment goes, the CFA isn't that all the students obtain a perfect score. It's how you show your reteaching methods and your analysis of what they learned and why they may or may not have learned it as a result of the formative assessment. Some concepts are just hard for students to learn, and we have to present them in several different ways. You may find that. Okay, so back to our page. And just a little move here. So that's it for the week. Do your recommended readings first. Watch the videos and have a discussion. Please meet with your PLCs and talk about your items and how they connect to objectives and what you're trying to measure. And then by a week from Sunday, by Sunday, February 4th, submit your common formative assessment. As always, I'm happy to meet with you via phone, Google Hangouts, and email if you have any questions. All right, so continue to do good work, support each other, and let me know how you're doing, and I'll see you on the forum sites.